Content warnings for this episode of Sekiro. Blood, gore, bright flashes, loud noises, fire, burning alive, gunshots, explosions, and alcohol. Please be aware. And now onto the episode. Welcome back to Let's Play Sekiro, episode 39. In this episode, I will likely be talking a bit more history at points. There isn't too much story going on in some sections. We will be seeing the ends of a few NPC quest lines. Here I am going back to the grave of Tomoe and Takuro, Takuro being the previous divine heir. Tomoe was a sort of guardian for him, similar to the role Sekiro plays for Kuro. The Sakura Tree was brought here by Takuro from the divine realm. It was a way to remind him of where he came from. It died, though, after Owl, Sekiro's father, cut off a branch of it and took it, which we got for the purification ending, and also is available in the regular Immortal Severance path as the dead version of the branch, but we get the lively, I believe it's aromatic version of the branch that is more alive 3 years ago at Hirata Estate, in the return to there in the purification ending. We are on our way through the old grave. This is an area from very early on in the game. It's an area we could get to as soon as we reached Ashina Castle. There were gunners and such around here. Some stuff has been going on here, and this is actually our path back to Ashina Outskirts. You know, it's always so nice that the soldiers that are dying recognize that we're working for Ashina. Too bad the living ones that constantly attack us never do. So we have not seen Blackhat in a little while. Blackhat Mujina, the Tanuki. There's still these dead Senpo assassins up here, the rats that he killed. Let's look around though, because maybe he's still back here somewhere. This was the area where we originally found him. Down there, there are a lot of Ministry forces. They're all across the bridge. It doesn't appear like he's over here, so we're probably going to have to deal with this gunner right now. I say that like I'm not watching this in the future and having recorded this in the past. Although those listening to it, this will be the past. I was trying to determine which of the soldiers could be talked to here. That one is the one. So, Ashina seems pretty screwed at the moment. There's lots of dead people around. You can see all the injured, such as... That's Blackhat Badger! Near this corpse of someone who is really low fidelity in regards to graphics. Ooh. Probably weren't supposed to look too closely at that guy. Or this guy either. The dead bodies in Gyobu's arena are similar to these. They might be the same models even. But oh no, Blackhat Badger! Oh no, he's injured. We better talk to him, our friend.
Mujina. Omega. Naitaze. Nezumi ga osugira. Uja uja. 湧いてきやがった。よほど 一心が怖かったかよ。おかげでらしくもねえことをしちまったぜ。
何があった？
ネズミどもがよ、人生ガキまで切ろうとしやがって。ついなガキを助けてこのざまだ。黒笠のムジナ様も焼きが回ったかね。おめえにゃ礼をしねえとな。俺のカバネを勝手にあされ。渡すのが面倒だ。
The balloon is the Mibu Pilgrimage Balloon. It says, Mibu Balloon made in the year of the Dragon Spring Pilgrimage, sealed with a prayer for healthy upbringing. Burst the white Mibu balloon while clasping one's hands in prayer. Those splashed with the water will enjoy increased gains of all sorts for a time. On it is crudely scrawled, to Tenkichi from Badger. Tenkichi is the dead son of Badger, or Blackhat Mujina. Now, this is not a random ending to Mujina's story, to Blackhat's story. It's very fitting with basically his past. So, solidarity for the Blackhat. He gave us this great shield so long ago and helped us. I don't use it too much, but it helps a lot of people out. Blackhat's story is one often about regret, his own worries and feelings about the loss of his child when he was bringing him up. That is a part of his focus on the grave near the lookout point for jumping on the serpent to deathblow it. He lost his child and feels a lot of sorrow for it, and like his life had no meaning anymore. As such, it's very fitting for him to die defending a random child and not really understand entirely himself why he went through and did such a foolish thing, fighting so many enemies at once. But the reality is he basically saw a child in need and felt that he never got to save his own child, so this would be an opportunity to actually save a kid. And how his child died is left to be a bit of a mystery, but given the location, the statues to Jizo involved, it might be related to the children of the rejuvenating waters and them being killed. So possibly Tenkichi is one of the monkeys in the Hall of Illusions. But it's not really made clear. Something additionally I wanted to discuss while there's time before more lore stuff happens. Gecko Kujo is a term. It generally means like low conquers high. It's considered the sort of like perfect description of the Sengoku Jidai, the era that Sekiro is heavily inspired by, even if it takes place in Edo. I wanted to mention this because Ashina Isshin reminds me quite a lot in ways of various figures of the Sengoku Jidai. Specifically, he reminds me most of Oda Nobunaga. As well, he reminds me a little bit of Date Masamune. Date Masamune, the one-eyed dragon, the dragon in the north. Isshin is known as the warlord in the north. The regions might be close. It's a little unclear where Ashina is exactly. I've talked about it before. The Fountainhead Palace is very clearly based on like Kyoto and Nara and some older areas. but they also mention the north, and the Ashina clan historically was in the north/northeast and was near the Date clan, and eventually got absorbed by the Date clan. I believe now it would be considered the Sendai region, or was, but I think it's now the Sendai region. I'm going to be reading a little bit from the texts in-game on Isshin. A compendium of the Ashina sword style allows one to learn Ashina style skills. The text reads like a history of Isshin Ashina's battles. When young, Isshin fought desperately time and time again, polishing his techniques in the blood of his enemies. He consolidated his learnings under the Ashina style name for the sake of his clan's dominance. A unique text from the legendary Ashina Mushin compound style. Young Isshin would stop at nothing in his lust for power, and the single-minded search for strength ended in him taking Ashina for his own. This is the result of combining techniques from the styles he encountered. This drive defined Isshin's achievements, and as such, this text will never be finished. Gyobu Oniwa led a group of infamous bandits, but was defeated by Isshin, who was so captivated by his show of strength that he took him on as an Ashina warrior. Oniwa would later go on to become Genichiro Ashina's most trusted retainer. I apologize for not talking too much about what's going on screen. We are mostly just dealing with a retread of an area that's now on fire with ministry enemies that we've seen mostly before. Now, in the description, I will be putting some sources on Oda Nobunaga. That is the person I'm most reminded of by Isshin. Isshin's desire to find people that are strong, to learn as much as possible, get as many techniques as possible, to become more powerful, to be independent, to never bow to anyone, reminds me quite a lot of Oda Nobunaga. As well, his taking in of other people, as I mentioned, him taking in Oniwa and making him Gyobu. That just screams Oda Nobunaga. That was so much what he did, was fight people that were so powerful in war. He wasn't really like a one-on-one duelist like Isshin is. Isshin is like a Kensei. He is like the biggest badass in Japan at this time, basically. No one would want to fight him, and as they've mentioned, the Ministry is afraid of fighting just him. They're not afraid of the Ashina army. They're afraid of just Isshin. He's that powerful of a warrior. But in personality, he reminds me quite a lot of Nobunaga. Nobunaga is a very eccentric character. That's a part of why he became such a pivotal figure in history. You might notice a lot of media focuses on Oda Nobunaga and his story and life and various fantastical retellings of that and afterwards. A part of that is he's basically just such a character. He is such an eccentric person. He just stood out. He very much just shows what the era was all about. On top of that, he was always a driving force. He was always working towards something after his childhood. Early on, he was very lazy when he was known as Kipposhi. But when he became known as Oda Nobunaga and the Demon of Owari, he really stood out more than his father, Nobuhide, did. Nobuhide did kind of set it all into motion, but it was Nobunaga's desire to march on the capital, his trickster nature almost. He was a very cunning person. There's just so much kind of to try and condense about him, but I would say his nature reminds me a lot of Isshin, or Isshin's nature reminds me quite a lot of Oda Nobunaga. Physically, there are quite a few different people Isshin resembles. His eye is very injured, which reminds me and makes me think of Date Masamune, as well as I mentioned him being a warlord in the north. If you have a one-eyed samurai, it's pretty given you're doing a Date Masamune thing. Here I'm also looking at the mon on the flags of the Interior Ministry, which is a double hollyhock. The triple hollyhock is the symbol of the Tokugawa clan and the Tokugawa Bakufu and shogunate. Seemingly that's who these people are working for. It's not entirely made clear because, as I've mentioned before, they don't really directly say, like, Tokugawa. They don't directly name people who are running most of these things, other than Oribe, who gets one mention on a prayer bead necklace, and I'm not sure if that's even in the Japanese text. These guys are using weaponry that I believe was used in the siege of Osaka during the Osaka campaign in Edo. I think these were used a little bit earlier too. They're almost like firework guns, or like, it kind of reminds me of like a torpedo in a way. I think the Sanada clan have used these, and their armor is very clearly inspired by the Sanada clan, as I've mentioned many months ago. And I believe I posted about that like the week Sekiro came out. It might have been a little bit after that, but it was something I noticed, as well as the Takeda clan. The Sanada, of course, being well recognized as fearsome warriors. Sanada Yukimura was their leader during the siege of Osaka. He was considered one of the greatest like samurai generals and warriors at the time. He is somebody who could be considered a kensei. Kensei is actually something really rare in Japanese history for someone to totally be called that. The swordsman known as Master Musashi, that a lot of people like to look up to, he wrote the Book of Five Rings detailing his tactics and how it's not exactly his skill with a blade, though he was skilled with a blade. It was more so him doing psychological warfare and guerrilla warfare tactics on his enemies. Basically, he mostly made people so pissed off and fatigued they couldn't fight him. And in a way, it comes off like cowardly, but also that's the era. Do what works. Do what succeeds. It's not really like a moral statement. The objective is win. So he won a lot, and he's an incredibly successful duelist. Kensei, however, is really rare. It's something that I don't know if there's ever been like a defined, definitive person who was a Kensei. You had Honda Tadakatsu, who would be close. Oda Nobunaga would definitely not be. He was not that great of like an actual swordsman in battle. Which, to be fair, he didn't have to be. He was a leader. There is a bit of a historical parallel here with Sanada Yukimura. When Sanada Yukimura fell in battle, the forces of the Sanada and Toyotomi really swiftly fell afterwards. He was kind of holding the whole thing together, and the enemy was afraid of him, and he was inspiring everyone. Once he died, they basically just lost. Now we are here fighting Shigga Kiichi of the Red Guard. Shigga Kiichi is another sumo slash like Juzo style enemy. He fights nearly exactly the same, he just has fire. There is another element to this fight that's a bit different. He is wearing a big breastplate. You can use the loaded spear to pull it off. It takes 2 pulls to remove it. After that, he will take damage like any of the other ones. Otherwise, the same tactics apply here. In general, running around him is a good way to deal with him if you're struggling. You can just sprint around and get in little hits every now and then. For this specific fight, there are lots of explosive boxes around. They're a bit annoying to try to time. He can light them on fire himself, but usually if he hits it with his sword, he'll just break it. I show off just a few ways to deal with him. Here I was just looking around for more fireboxes because they all were broken. I believe they were broken from fighting the other members of the ministry, the just normal soldiers and stuff. A lot of them have like black suit on their face, but some appear to have black faceplates. It might just be a model issue. You have to really look closely at them to see. A lot of them like to use fire weaponry, Shigga Kiichi being no exception here. His left eye is also burned. Seemingly another important factor. The Divine Dragon also has an eye that is damaged like that, and that's where Sekiro's mark from the Dragon Heritage is as well. And additionally, that's the same eye that is damaged on Isshin. That eye we actually see get cut by Tamura in the intro, though it may have been injured even before that. Additionally, with all of the fire and Ashina being burned, it reminds me of little things from, well, not little, really big things from Oda Nobunaga's life and his death. the burning of Mount Hiei, as well as the Honnoji incident. That is the incident where Oda Nobunaga was forced to commit suicide and everything was burned down. He was betrayed by Akechi Mitsuhide. There are definitely lots of traitors here too, but I don't know that that's exactly a reminder of Akechi. In that way, I'm reminded of Oda Nobunaga's death, though Isshin died of old age or possibly the dragon rot. Here I'm going to show the effects of explosions on this big boy. This very large lad. We can see here the gathering of like black powder and weaponry. If you hit these with fire, they explode, as I've mentioned. It's pretty easy to kill him quickly. You can basically jump from above and deathblow after killing this pan guy. You may have noticed actually they're a reskin of the regular Pan Alert guys. They're just wearing the Red Guard armor. So you slit his throat, you hit him with the spear twice, pull his armor, and then run away. Bring him over to the bombs and you can just blow him up. This will actually deal a lot of posture damage. 3 explosions is basically enough to posture break him. It won't be exact. You'll do the 2 spear pulls, you'll blow him up 3 times, and then I think you have to hit him like 3 or 4 more times, and then he'll posture break. It might be also like 1 more deflect or 2 more deflects will do it too. It's really short. That's how I'm going to end up killing him in just a bit when I show footage from the No Hit No Damage New Game Plus 7 Charmless Demon Bell fight. As I mentioned, it's a bit hard to get him to not break these boxes. I'm really surprised that one didn't break at that point. But it makes posture breaking him super easy. As I mentioned, I'm going to be putting some sources down in the description. I'm also going to link to a post by Immortal Thunder God on Reddit. It is from, I think, 5 months ago. It's him discussing the ideas of the Ashina in this game being based on the Ashina clan from real life. FromSoft have said that's not the case, but there are definitely parallels. I'll link to that in the description. You can read that. There's lots of lost lore information in the Reddit. A lot of things have been figured out many months ago that people have posted, me included. Other people, a lot of things about Senpo were posted early on too there. So you can often just search up a term on the subreddit and you'll find lots of old posts actually detailing lots of Japanese history. So here I am just getting Shigga over here to blow him up. As I mentioned, it's a bit tricky to time, especially if he's going to start drinking or attacking. You basically want to bait him into attacking with his back to it. It might not look like he got blown up there, but it's because he was in the middle of an animation. It gave him a little bit of hyper armor. His posture and health actually did move if you look closely. I almost thought I blew him off the ledge here, which would have been really funny. You kill him in the exact same way as Juzo and Tokujiro the Glutton. They just use basically the same, I guess, skeleton, the same model. His is a little bit different. You can see he looks a bit different. Tokujiro, I think, might have the exact same model as Juzo. They look really similar. They have the same chest scars, body hair, haircut, everything. So an additional little thing to mention, the Kiku-ichimonji, or Ichimonji, meaning straight line. This is a famous sword type, like set of swords from the 1200s, I believe it is, created by very famous master swordsmiths of Japan. I'm wondering if that on top of straight line the meaning, but also this connection to the swords is a part of why this was chosen for being a part of Isshin style, the Ichimonji in game being a basic kendo. Wait a minute, Anayama? What's happened here? So this is the ending for Anayama and Kotaro if you send Kotaro to Anayama. Kotaro will die defending Anayama against the Interior Ministry. We'll learn more about what exactly happened. This is still the thing I think most people should do first playthrough, because you get something right here that's useful in all further playthroughs. Oh look, Sengoku sugar. But anyway.
どうした？
参りやした。ナイフ型のやつら。ああまで話が通じねえと。銭も品も全部持ってきやがって。けど小太郎が追い返してくれたんです。なあ相棒。寝ちまったな。
ああ、よく寝ている。
そんな顔しないでください。何も旦那が落ち込むことはないでしょう。そうだ、旦那のために一ついい品を取っておきやした。最後の品でさ。よかったら買っていきやせんか。年の中に隠してやしたんで、ちょっと見ようかもしれやせん。ご勘弁を。
構わん。
さて、これにて売り切れ、店じまい。けどね、すっからかんじゃござんせん。この一銭がありません。あっしはこの一銭を元手に一山当てやせ。旦那、そん時はまた買いに。
And that is the end of Anayama's story. You might have noticed he is also wearing an eye patch and missing an eye. I'm going to show what happens if you come here in later New Game Pluses and already have the promissory note.
最後の品でさ。よかったら買っていきやせんか。毎度その最後の品。ふんどしの中に隠してやしたんで、ちょっと見ようかもしれやせん。ご勘弁を。
構わん。
さて、これにて売り切れ、店じまい。けどね、すっからかんじゃござんせん。この一銭がありません。あっしはこの一銭を元手に一山当てやせ。旦那、そん時はまた買いに。
I actually tested this out for the 5th mat. Him and others were looking at the data and it mentioned a Divine Droplet dialogue. In New Game Plus, if you have the promissory note already, you get a Divine Grasp, but the dialogue says Dragon Blood Droplet. That is it for this episode. Next episode is going to be the end of Ashina Outskirts and some big explosive fiery stuff, so I will see you next time.